Hello everyone and welcome to our C# interview questions course. In this lecture, we're going to be introducing all of the topics covered in this course, as well as previewing the different interview questions we're going to be covering. Not only will you learn how to solve interview questions, you'll also learn the thought pattern, you'll learn how to recognize thought patterns, you'll learn the best way to answer each question and how to approach topics and various types of questions, and you'll also learn about time complexity and space complexity. Let's go ahead and introduce the different topics. So we have 10 different sections here, beginning with section 0. We have fizz buzz and time complexity. We're going to be answering one of the most common interview questions that is very well known, fizz buzz, and we'll also be discovering time complexity in depth. So we're going to look at the types of time complexity and algorithm examples of each. The time complexity you need to know, as well as big O notation. Then in section 1, we're going to look at our first set of interview questions in the string and array category. This is arguably one of the largest categories asked about, so strings and arrays are number 1. We're going to cover topics like reversing words, rotating arrays, looking at isomorphic strings, and finding the kth largest element in an array. All of those questions, we're going to define all of the terms you need to know, as well as how to approach the solution and build out a running solution. And of course, we will have all source code for you at the end of each section. Then in section 2, we are going to look at matrix interview questions. This includes questions like setting matrix zeros, finding the spiral matrix, and finding the number of islands. Another commonly asked, extremely popular question is the number of islands. So we'll be getting to all of those, and we will have questions of different difficulty levels. That way you can see exactly where you are at in terms of being able to pass the test. In section 3, we are going to answer linked list interview questions. We will solve questions like implementing a stack, adding numbers, and reversing linked lists. Then in section 4, we're going to look at the binary tree data structure. This course is going to be covering data structures and algorithms, the most common ones you need to know for the test. So with binary trees, we're going to learn how to traverse trees in order, pre-order, and post-order traversal, the most common traversal ways you need to know, as well as solving the maximum path sum interview question. Then moving on to section 5, we will be solving graph interview questions. We're going to learn how to build a graph as well as find the largest component in a grid. In section 6, we will be looking at sorting. We are going to cover the most popular sorting algorithms you need to know, as well as the time complexities of each of them. We're going to look at these sorting algorithms from worst to best. So this includes bubble sorting, selection sorting, insertion sort, quick sort, merge sort, all of those. In section 7, we're going to look at dynamic programming. This is a wide topic because there are many different types of questions you can get implementing dynamic programming. So we're going to look at dynamic programming as a whole, and then look at some of the most common questions you will be asked with dynamic programming. In section 8, we're going to look at bit manipulation. Bit manipulation will allow you to build extremely efficient and clean solutions. So if you can master bit manipulation, that will definitely show your skill at the test. We're going to cover questions like first introducing all of the bitwise and shift operators you need to know, as well as solving questions like the single number, finding the single number in an array, finding the number of 1 bits, otherwise known as the Hamming weight, in a question, and more. Now, we will be covering all of the terms you need to know, so not to worry about that. Depending on your difficulty level, you will either need to learn all the terms with us, or you can go ahead and go through all of the questions with us. In section 9, we're going to look at combinations and permutations, interview questions concerning those. These two terms come from math, and they are extremely important to know because the two are easily confused, but you should not confuse them. So in section 9, we're going to solve questions like finding permutations, finding distinct permutations, as well as the common question finding the letter combinations of a phone number. And then finally in section 10, we'll be looking at math interview questions. If you can understand math and how you can apply math to solve these interview questions, you'll be able to create extremely clean and efficient solutions that will be very impressive. So of course math is a huge topic. There is a lot you could potentially cover. We're going to be introducing the concept of math, the patterns you should recognize, and why math is so valuable, and where you can recognize the ability to use math instead of something slower like iteration or recursion or even sorting. So math is extremely efficient. We're going to answer questions like reversing integers, finding palindrome numbers, and the popular Excel sheet questions. Alright, so let's go ahead and introduce the browser IDE we're going to be using, the Integrated Development Environment. That is known as REPL.it. This here is REPL.it. It is a completely free website and you don't even need an account. You can just click on Start Coding and you can immediately begin coding. You can select your language of choice. We'll type it in C# and click Create REPL to immediately create a file right in your browser, and you can run and test all of your code in the browser. And REPL is extremely useful, so we're going to introduce it quickly now. Even without an account, you can go ahead and toggle the files. You can change all of your settings to, for example, increase the font size. And you can also show files and download all of your files just by going to the Files sidebar and clicking Download as zip. And here in this sidebar, we have all of our C# code that we can also type in here and run code in the main method. Then on the right side, we have the console where whenever you run your code, this is where your console will print lines. So we're going to be using REPL. As you can see, it's extremely useful because we don't need to install or download any software for this course. We'll only be using REPL.it. That's REPL.it. That is all you need to know to get started in this course, so let's go ahead and move into the next lecture where we're going to be solving our first interview question, the most common one, fizz buzz. See you there.